In regard to PCVRS, I am hearing a lot of complaints. So one of the biggest is that they are required to do this assessment or they can't get in the program. They are very worried about their IRB. And one case in specific, and we heard last meeting, that they don't get to see their assessment. They get some feedback verbally, but they don't actually see it. One thought to see it, however, signed off knowing that it had already been sent out, as they say, to all the whoever they are deeming should be the providers. Is that something that you feel a veteran should come and talk to you about?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because you do talk about informal complaints and you get them, but you can't act on that.
It is far more helpful if a veteran comes to us directly. We've heard from many service providers, for example, with their frustration. They relay the frustration of the veteran, and I ask them, please ask the veteran to come to our office so that I can hear it directly.
So a question on that, if they're talking to you informally within your responsibilities, can you suggest to them that they consider submitting a formal complaint to you?
I do.
You can, okay.
Every time.
Okay, so that's something that we could certainly do more to support in you getting the help for them that they do need. Minister, thank you for being here. We have had conversations with your bureaucrats in regard to what's working with PCVRS and isn't, and a number have come to me, veterans concerned about that assessment that is done at the beginning. They do not get to see it. And I have one that specifically reached out very concerned because he was told and knew that he wouldn't get his IRB if he didn't do this assessment, and he gave them a great deal of information, even about family members and dynamics that ended up in his report. The only reason he knows is because he absolutely insisted that he be able to sign off on that, which makes sense to me for any veteran. However, he found out he was signing off on it after they had already given it out. So will this independent review ensure that that dynamic is being reassessed and that veterans get to see what is expected of their outcomes and ensure that information is not handed out to them, to providers or anyone else within PCVRS before they have the opportunity to read it and sign off on it? Please make sure that that is part of your independent review, because an independent review means that most of your information cannot come from PCVRS, who is doing the job that is being reviewed. And I would ask that you please consider that. So that's my first request. We've talked previously about the spouses and families' right to have access to support specifically in mental health needs in their own right. Does that fall under PCVRS or does that fall under the other program?
It would not fall. The rehabilitation program, which is delivered by PCVRS, right, is solely for the veteran.
Okay.
And in some cases, survivors.
Right. Okay. So survivors as in surviving veterans or survivors of
a widow or widower.
Okay.
And some spouses.
Okay, that's interesting because I have found out about that as well, and the number of survivors that exist is significant. The number that have gotten assistance through PCVRS is very minimal. The second thing is, we were told today that the rehabilitation program was available to spouse widowers, so to other members, their partners, but they had to be widowers. And yet another report says that spouses of seriously injured veterans and survivors are permitted to participate in the VAC rehabilitation program. So what is the answer? Can spouses also? I'm seeing a nod, so that is correct.
Madam Chair, I would like to make sure that we have
yes,
that explained.
Yes,
so I would
great.
like to turn to the officials to be able to answer
I have very
that.
little time, so just simply, is it a yes or a no that spouses can?
Yes, in certain instances.
In certain instances, there we go. Okay, so as of March 31st, 2024, out of 180,006 VAC clients, of which 12,609 were on rehab, only 55 spouses and survivors were approved. How many spouses and survivors applied? And why did only 55? Because quite often veterans cannot work, and it goes to the spouse. So do you have those numbers, please? How many actually applied as spouses and survivors?
Chair, I would turn to the department
I
for
will-
those
If we don't have the answer,
Thank you,
you're
Mrs.
welcome to please
Wagantall.
provide it to
Thank
me.
you very much. We could certainly
committee.
appreciate if the committee can receive those numbers.